For the first few years, I really did it the hard way. I did things myself. What was one of my biggest, things, something I could change. I said, I wouldn't hire my friends. I need to just hire who I need, not who's available. It's do what you do best and hire the rest. It's hard, it's hard to let go and trust people, but you got to learn how to do it. That's how you grow. So you don't work in the business, you want to work on the business. That you want to be an entrepreneur or that you are an entrepreneur. But real entrepreneurs are just out there being an entrepreneur. They're getting shit done, they're not talking about it. You have to be about it. Every day is a challenge. Every day presents a different set of circumstances and challenge. What are some of the things that, would cause you to not to succeed? And it's always the same answer. It's if you give up. And why do people give up? People give up because they don't want it better. If you're obsessed with the outcome, you can get it done. You can't catch the fish from the couch. Not now does not mean not ever. Maybe it just didn't happen right now. Maybe now's not the time for you. Spend time with the people who are getting the results that you're after. So when someone tells you, Jared, no, man, oh, you don't want to hang out, oh, you're being selfish. Thanks, I ain't being selfish. You know what? I should be selfish. You are the most important person in your life.
What was the biggest lesson you learned then from scaling that propane business?
Oh my God.
So your first big break was when you identified a gap in the propane market and you scaled it into one of Florida's largest independent exchange businesses.
Yeah.
How did you get into propane, man?
Man, it's so funny. So I actually want to be a chef.
Okay.
I originally wanted to cook. Yeah. So completely different field, right?
Yeah.
And I was working at a car wash before culinary school started. And my father had a little business where he would refill people's propane barbecue tanks. I don't know if you know those tanks that go under the grills. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he hired me to fill those for $65 a day. And while I was there, some guy kept showing up asking if we would deliver them. And at that time, that service didn't exist really. And long story short,
how old were you back then, and what year was this?
I was 20 years old.
Okay.
20. So yeah, this guy kept asking to get the tanks delivered, and I told him at first, no, no one's gonna do that. Stupid, I guess that's a dumb question, like.
How entitled can you be?
Yeah, I was like, oh, get that out of here. So, but after a couple of attempts, he came back a couple of times. I decided, you know what, if I charge him more money and he agrees to pay me, well, then that's an opportunity where I can, basically make some money for myself, right? And he did that. And my first delivery, I made $100, basically. And that's how I started my business. I said, okay, I got a guy who's willing to pay me to do this service. There's got to be other people who would be willing to pay me for this service as well. Mm-hmm. And I just decided, okay, let me go out and try to find those people. So for the first few months, I didn't really find anyone. It was kind of very slow. But then I found, I don't know if you guys have space heaters where you're at in Lancaster? No? So they're like these tall heaters. They look like mushrooms. And you put them like outside when you're eating in your restaurants and stuff.
Oh,
and
right. Yes. Okay.
They give off heat.
I see what they look like. Yeah.
Yeah. So those things run off propane. So once I found those people, I said, oh my God, this is my perfect customer, right?
Yeah.
And
I started selling to restaurants and events.
Exactly. And that's when I made my first significant amount of money. The first one was that first customer, but then the next big break, so to speak, was finding that market. And, I went from making no money to sometimes $3,000 in a day. Wow. So it was a big jump.
Yeah, so you really shifted from B2C to B2B, basically.
Yeah. And then back and forth and all over.
Yeah.
Whoever the hell wants to give me money.
Just trying it out.
Yeah,
that makes
I'll
sense.
deliver to you if you give me money.
And how did you scale that then, Max? Because obviously you started alone, I guess. Did you start hiring people to do the delivery, or how did it work out?
Well, at first, not really. For the first few years, I really did it the hard way. I did things myself, and then
Respect.
Yeah, thank you, man. And then I started hiring people to help me instead of hiring people to do it, which I think was a mistake. Somebody asked me the other day on a show, what was one of my biggest, things, something I could change. I said, I wouldn't hire my friends. I'd hire people who were qualified to help me. Because I think
Mm.
one of the things that we do as young entrepreneurs often is you look around for whoever's available and you say, hey, give me a hand. But for example, which is what I did, right? So I hired a bunch of my friends to help me because they were around. But really, there's professional, I was delivering propane, right? So think about it. Who did I need? I needed someone who was over 21 that was certified to drive around hazardous materials, that had
Okay.
knowledge of the area to know where to deliver these materials, and that was available to work, let's say 5 days a week. But instead, I hired my friends who were available whenever they weren't fucking around, and and they didn't have a license, and they didn't know anything about propane, so they were just my helpers.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the opposite way to do it. The right way to do it is hire someone who can do that job for me, and I could have gone and continued to grow the business. I could have been doing more sales, which is what I was doing every day, realistically, to grow the
Mm.
business. You got to talk to people. You got to convince people to use to use your service or to buy your product. So
Mm.
my time would have been better spent if I would have hired someone qualified to do those deliveries. So then I can focus on growing the business, which is not something that I was going to hire someone to do at that point in the business.
Mm. Well, that makes
So you got
complete
to think
sense.
about, where are you most important and who can you leverage, right? Because you're using people as leverage, right? So my helper friends, they could only help me so much, right? And I was paying them the same that I was making, which $60, whatever a day. But if I would have paid maybe 85 or 100 to a guy that had a license
For a more
and
efficient job,
qualified,
and yeah.
oh my God, I would have, off of making that decision, I would have made 10 times my money back because I could have said, hey, go do this job, right? And not
How
have to
long did
worry
that
about it.
take for you to realize?
Years,
Wow.
years. Like it took me years after a lot of micromanaging. It was one day I remember the day I was in my office one day and I was like, doing one of these, like, oh my God, fucking, I got to do everything here, like I got to do everything here. Everybody, you guys are retards. So I was like, why do I do everything? I had like 7 or 8 employees at that time, but I didn't trust any of them. And I felt like they were all like, you know, let's just say again, not qualified and not educated on the product that I was selling. So it just created more work for me, you know, because they had to come to me for everything, right? If I would have gotten expert help, I wouldn't have to worry that much. They could, I would have had someone who knew what they were doing. Again, could have let them do their job and I could have gone and done something else. But I remember there was a specific day and the day that I'm mentioning, and I said, I need to just hire who I need, not who's available.
Mm.
And those are usually two completely different things. Your friends are available, they're usually not exactly who you need. Unfortunately, that's how it is. So making that job description, so to speak. So if you were starting an AI learning company, let's say, okay, you're doing AI. Okay, let me start thinking about who I need. I need a guy who knows about computers. I need a guy who knows about AI. I need someone who's available. I need, you start making that list. And then when you find the people that you're considering to hire, where do you fit on this list? Can you fill all these qualifications or, oh, not really. I'm available, but I don't know shit about computers and I don't know what's AI. I've never heard of that before. Like, that's not your guy, So think about it that way.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs have an issue with when it comes to delegating tasks. They want to do everything themselves, and then when they do come around to delegate the tasks, they do the mistake you did. Is just getting the first guy around or your friends, and then more often than not, it's more time consuming and more of a hassle than when you were doing it yourself because you gotta
Right.
watch over what they're doing twice as much as if you were doing yourself. Do you
Right.
think it's still a necessary step or a necessary bridge between doing it yourself and finding the right people to do it? Or do you think some people should completely skip that step and go straight away to the qualified people?
So, I mean, it really depends, I think, on what stage you're in and what you're doing. I like to learn things myself if I can, if I have the bandwidth, because there's a lot of things that I don't understand. Like, for example, computers is one of them that I suck with anything that has to do with computers. It's horrible. So I'm better off just outsourcing anything that has to do with a computer to someone else. But if it's something that I can get like a general knowledge from, like I own restaurants too. So I like to go to the restaurants and get a feel for what's going on because I can understand the operation. And then once I understand it, I'll say, okay, I need these things, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? I need a guy who can cook. I need a guy who can clean. I need someone who's available from Monday through Friday, whatever it is. And then I'll find that person, give the job to that person, train them, explain to them what I'm expecting, and then let them go. You got to trust people to do their job. And that's the only way that you can grow is by giving people responsibility and letting them be accountable for their role, right? Like, do you guys have baseball in your country?
It's I guess, but it's really not famous here. But I guess some
Soccer,
people
soccer,
play it. Soccer, yeah, or football. But yeah,
soccer. Okay, football. Perfect. So imagine you hired someone to be a power forward, right? And you're like, hey, go be the power forward. And you're the goalie. But every time the ball gets close to him, you run out of the goalie and then you go, oh, no, let me kick it. Like, that doesn't make any sense, bro.
it doesn't.
You
Yeah.
have to trust him to be the power forward. And
It's
you're going to
hard.
find out. Oh, and it's hard. But here's the
Really hard.
thing. A couple things happen. Number one, you're going to find out if he's any good at being a power forward when he's on his own, right? Because he might suck. And that's that's the truth. He might be horrible at being a power forward. But if you don't let him do it on his own, you'll never figure it out. Because if you're the goalie and you're always going to save him, you'll never know how good of a power forward he is because you're always coming to his aid, to his rescue. You're helping him. Oh, let me help you with this. Let me help you with that. Let me show you how to do it. Let me do this for you. Let me kick the ball for you. That doesn't make sense. So if you just let him play, maybe he's amazing, right? And then you're like, wow, I really didn't have anything to worry about. I was here running back and forth all this time, and this guy doesn't even need my help. So those are the things that you need to consider when you're hiring people and running a business. If you micromanage them, you're always going to have to micromanage them. And if you're micromanaging people, you're not going to grow because you can't do everything yourself. You need other people to help you grow. So there's a saying that I really love. It's do what you do best and hire the rest. So do what you do best and hire the rest. It's a philosophy that I think is amazing. If you're the best goalie in the world, we'll go back to soccer. If you're the best goalie in the world, why are you trying to be a power forward? Stay being a goalie, man. Let someone else be the power forward. You stay being a goalie. You're going to be much more effective as a goalie than trying to be something that you're not that good at. Understand?
Mhm. Now, I think what's also very hard for people, especially in these early stages, is that most often than not, you can do a better job than those you're hiring to do the job. And it's very frustrating because obviously you know you can do a better job, even though maybe they can do, maybe you can do like 10% better of a job, right? But they still can get the job done. And that's more time on your hands and less hassle for you. So really letting these people, gain their trust, see what they're doing. And even if it's not as good as what you would do, at least you've got the whole task delegated to someone else. And you
So
can
the way
focus
that
on
I
something
say that
really
is
matters.
because I say something very similar to what you just said. The way I say it to people is like this. I say, listen, imagine if I offered you a job and you were going to make £1 million, right? Because you guys still make dollars over there, right? You make pounds. £1 million a year. And you had to be there every day of the week, 52 weeks out of the year, right? For £1 million. But then I tell you, hey, listen, you know what, Jared, there's another opportunity. You can make £800,000 and never be there. Which job would you take? Right? It's not
Exactly.
going to be
Obviously, the
perfect.
second one.
You're not going to make as much, but you don't have to be there. I mean, shit, you get your freedom. Yeah,
That's perfectly well said.
you know,
That's a great analogy. That's
you get your
perfect. That's
freedom and you get to
exactly
do
it.
whatever you want.
Well, yeah, you really hit the nail on the head there. That's
but let me
really
tell
nicely
you, as
said.
a starting out, making that transition from like operator to owner, because that's essentially what we're talking about. You're transitioning from a guy
Mm.
that does the work to a guy that's managing the work getting done. It's hard, you know. It's hard to let go and trust people, but you got to learn how to do it. That's how you grow, you know.
Mm. Yeah, as well, you're just sacrificing the growth overall, and you're just not going to move forward. Mm. When do you think is a good transition? When do you believe it's a good moment to transition from going to from operator to owner? And I know obviously it can vary from business to business, but what are the signs you can recognize? Do you believe when it's time to be like, okay, I think it's time I'm start delegating these really important tasks and
Well,
start taking the back seat
now at this stage of my life, I feel like it's almost immediate. Like if we're
as soon as
involved
possible.
in, yeah, as soon as possible. If I can hire people to do things so I don't have to do them, I'm doing that. You know, immediately,
Time is money.
immediately. If I
Mm.
could give the responsibility to someone else, I find it
And if you have the
go.
resources to, just do
I'll
it.
watch from afar. Send me the numbers. You know, that's the best way to do it, my opinion. Because if you have to be involved all the time, well, shit, then you lose your freedom. And I like my freedom. I like to do whatever the hell I want to do. So, I'd rather again pay people, make a little less money, but know that it's getting done and not have to do it myself. So if you have a business, even if it's small, if it's producing to the degree that you're able to hire someone, as soon as I can hire one person, I'm hiring that person, giving them the work and the responsibility. So you don't work in the business, you want to work on the business, right? You want the business to grow, and you can't do that if you're the one, pulling all the levers every single day. You need to be creating opportunities, meeting people, talking to people who have, the trying to secure the accounts that you're trying to get, and or advertise, marketing, whatever that may be to grow the business. That's what you need to be doing, right?
And I think it's also, as when you can delegate those tasks as early as possible, I think it's also just easier because the longer I guess you wait, I'm saying this not from experience, but I guess from, I guess common sense, the longer you wait to actually delegate those tasks and, actually extract yourself out of the business and work on the business and be part, yeah, work on the business. I just guess it gets harder and harder. So I guess the
Yeah.
earlier the
And
better.
if you're working in the business, it's a job. You're not a business owner, right? You
Exactly.
have a job, and I don't want a job. There's nothing against jobs. A lot of people who have jobs are happy and they make a lot of money, but I don't want a job.
Let's hop on that for a second. I think that's interesting because obviously, it's become a trend now to be an entrepreneur. I'm sort of going off script here. So I'm trying to formulate these questions. So it's become a trend now to really be your own boss and not want a job. Um, what do you think of that trend? Because obviously, if everybody was going to be their own boss, then the economy wouldn't work as it is now. You need people flipping the burgers. That's the sort of entrepreneur expression. What do you think of it?
I think it's a trend to say that you want to be an entrepreneur or that you are an entrepreneur. But real entrepreneurs are just out there being an entrepreneur. They're getting shit done. They're not
Mm.
talking about it. They're doing it. They're starting a business. They're investing into things. They're trying to make things happen. If I walk out, hey guys, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm an entrepreneur. I mean, yeah, that's great. Good for you. You told everybody you're an entrepreneur. Who cares? Go make something happen. You have to make something happen. Don't just talk about it. You have to be about it.
Action over words.
Like a good friend of mine says, don't sing it, bring it. It's like stop publicizing your whole fucking thing. Like just go get something done. Go do something. Whatever it is.
Yeah. A lot of people say they're entrepreneurs, but they're really entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's listen, it's cool and it's nice to want things and it's great that people get excited about being an entrepreneur. I think that's wonderful. But at the same time, nothing happens if nothing happens. You can't just talk about being an entrepreneur. You need to go get something done. Go do something. Yeah,
You gotta take action.
exactly. Put the rubber to the road. Make something happen.
Mm.
Even if you were on the street selling bottles of water for $1, hey,
At least you're getting
you're in
something done.
business. And
Yeah, you're learning sales on the process. You're learning,
exactly.
um,
I talk about it in my
yeah.
book. The first thing I sold was mangoes. The second thing I sold was candy. Uh, and then later on, I sold cars. I don't talk about that in the book. And then, I ended up being Propane. But all that experience from the past, all those different types of experiences, whether it was selling candy or mangoes or whatever, it gave me a foundation of experience so that when the real opportunity came, I was ready. Because I was like, man, I've been in this situation before. I've tried to sell somebody something before. I've had someone tell me no before or give me excuses of why they don't want to buy. And I've had to come up with ways to convince them to buy what I'm selling, you know? So experience is
Mm,
experience. It's kind of like what we just said. You got to take some type of
exactly.
action, You got to do something, you know, so that you'll have experience and you'll have opportunities. And you never know who you're meeting and who you're talking to. You could walk out on the street, like I told you, and sell someone a bottle of water, and that guy could give you a job opportunity that you make £500,000 a year. Or he'll say, hey, you have a great attitude. We got a sales position open, whatever. There's just so many things that could happen, but that all happens when you apply faith. And faith is taking that action, not knowing exactly what the result's going to be, but, putting your faith in something good is going to happen.
So I guess what you're saying is there's three categories. There's those that don't want to do it, those that want to do it, and those that can do it.
You can put it that way.
I like it. What do you think was the biggest challenge you faced in scaling that propane business? And maybe even, you said you're selling cars at some point, or your candy business, or your mango
The
business.
biggest challenge scaling the propane business, I would have to write another 5,000 page book. There was a million
Wow.
challenges, man. Every day is a challenge. Every day presents a different set of circumstances and challenges. Every single day as an entrepreneur, especially if you're trying to grow at a fast rate. I don't know.
Is there one
Sorry.
that stands out particularly, and you've learned a lesson from it?
One of the first ones that I had was not being able to get insurance and convincing an insurance company to give me insurance for my business because it was a relatively new concept at the time. So the insurance companies were like, we don't know what this is. We don't, like you're a kid. I was, 21 years old probably. And they're like, we're not going to insure you with these propane tanks that are basically like bombs, you know? And,
What year was all this, by the way?
huh?
What year was all this, by the way, when you
Year?
started that business? Yeah.
This was, oh God, 2000, probably like 2003 or four,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
By the
The
way,
year
there's
before was one.
there's a lot of noise. I bought my neighbor's house and we're building a tennis court. I don't know if the noise is coming through in your mic.
It sort of is, but I think it's. I guess I could edit it out. But if you can find a quieter place, that'd be amazing. But I
Yeah,
guess
I
I could
think,
edit it out.
yeah, because I didn't know they were gonna make so much noise right now. Let me see if
Yeah.
I move it.
Please,
Yeah.
please. That's wicked. Tennis court.
Well, I bought it. So I've always wanted a tennis court, but I didn't want to build one back here.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought my neighbor's house because he already had one.
Okay.
I'm just remodeling the house.
I love
Yeah.
when it's those problems where you get that point of I'd say wealth where you're like, I'd like a tennis court. Let's just buy the house right next door that already has one.
Fuck 'em.
Problem
Get
solved.
the fuck out of here. That's how it is. That's how it is, bro. Money
Ah,
solves problems. All right,
it
we're
really
taking
does.
through a stroll here.
It's
It's
nice that I'm
quieter.
seeing a little tour of the house at the same time.
Yeah. So I have my maid right there. This is my front yard. I can show you around. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah. Hey,
That
we
looks
do.
wow, looks great.
Yeah. Show you around now if you want.
What parts of Florida are you in?
So I'm in Miami. It's
Miami.
my
Okay.
assistant moving my Escalade. That's the entrance of the house.
Wow.
I was new and I was a kid. And, they saw propane very dangerous and they didn't want to give me insurance. So I struggled for a very, very long time, probably about a year and change,
It's
find
crazy.
someone to get me insurance. So I kind of I never gave up on my idea, but I kind of was just like chilling, like I was on pause. And eventually some guy came around and he said, we'll give you insurance. It was like, it changed my life, literally. This
Did you have any incidents at some point with the propane or never?
Afterwards, hundreds of incidents, people blowing up and kinds of shit. Yeah, oh
Really?
yeah, bunch of stuff.
That's crazy. I guess it's just it's part
Part of the business.
of the risks associated with the
Part
business.
of yeah. Unfortunately, trust me.
Mm.
Every time something happened, I had my balls right here. I was like, oh my god, there's an explosion.
Yeah, I can
You're like, oh
imagine.
my god, what happened? Is anybody hurt? But it's
Because then afterwards everything's your fault.
of course.
Because you're the owner.
Even when it's not your fault, it's fault,
Wow.
So
Mm.
yeah, that was a pretty big challenge. And as soon as I got the insurance, I was able to grow my business like rapidly, like crazy. And then I grew so fast that I had another issue, which was I grew the company so quickly. Then the insurance company told me I had too many customers. And I went from not wanting to insure me to insuring me. And then when I got so many accounts, they said, okay, your business is too big. And they said, now it's too much of a liability. And I told the guy,
Oh, because they were insuring what, too many trucks? Was that the issue?
customers. So I was putting I don't know if you've ever seen a propane cage by the gas stations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was putting those everywhere. And I don't know how many I had at the time, maybe like 100 or something. And they said, we're too exposed. It's too much liability. You put out too many cages.
Okay, so basically, what you weren't delivering straight to your client's doorstep, it was to their areas.
Yeah, I pivoted. I started, like we talked about earlier, I started doing everything. I would take it to your house. I'd take it to your warehouse. I'll take it to the gas stations. I'll take it to the restaurants. I was taking.
Yeah, and you found it made more sense just to go straight away to a common delivery.
And you take more of the products. Right? I could take 10 things in one shot instead of one or two. Right?
That's crazy. You were on that wave before it really crashed down. Not crashed down, but until it really made its way. Because now in Europe, at least, they're everywhere. Yeah. Like every gas station you go to, you've got the cage of propane. That's where we went to get them with my dad. So I guess before that, you actually have to go to like a big warehouse, and there's only a few every other. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to. Most people were getting them refilled somewhere. You'd go somewhere, get it.
So they'd have to like get rid of the empty one and get the new one at the store somewhere.
Right.
And now it's actually just giving the empty one, collecting the new one.
Correct. So when I started that, there was some of that, but not a whole lot of it. So I really I developed that entire market.
You pushed.
Went crazy. I wanted to get every customer that I could. And it worked out very well because I made a lot of money. Yeah.
How did the payment work out then? Was it like a membership, or was it a pay per year, or
no,
was it just once you pay once you refill?
Sold. So if they sold 5 tanks, because they were selling it to the public, my customer was the gas station. So the gas would buy it from. So let's say the gas station would buy it from me for $10 and resell it for $15. So then if they sold 5, I'd go refill. Swap out the empty one. Yeah.
Okay.
And
so, what's the biggest lesson you learned then from scaling that propane business?
Oh my God, I'm telling you, there's too.
Because I know you for those that don't know, Max wrote a book called "Who Is Max Lewis?" with 37 lessons that came. For selling his, because he sold it in 2017 for 37 million. Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then took your retirement in 2017, even though I don't think he'd call it a retirement yet.
Yeah, I retired. Still. Yeah.
So what lesson then, Max? Well, you had to handpick one.
Biggest lesson from scaling? Oh my God. There's just so many lessons, dude. I already told you not to hire your friends unless they're absolutely qualified. That was a big. I think one of the biggest lessons I think, or maybe more it's a word of encouragement, is whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, you can definitely achieve it if you are 100% dedicated to seeing it through. A lot of people ask me, different questions on entrepreneurship and things like that. And they ask me things like, why would you fail? And, what are some of the things that, would cause you not to succeed? And it's always the same answer. It's if you give up, And why do people give up? People give up because they don't want it bad enough. People give up because when it gets hard, they go the other way and they say, oh, this is too much work, or this is, it's not convenient anymore, or whatever their excuse is. But if you are really obsessed with the outcome, if you're obsessed with achieving whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, you can get it done. Everyone who's got a success story, like a really awesome success story, you'll find that they have that common denominator. They were obsessed. That's all they talked about. That's all they did. Everything they did was about the business. They wanted to grow the business. They networked with people. They asked for loans. They invested all their money, whatever. But they were 100% all in on making something happen, right? So if you're 20% in, nothing happens. When the road gets a little rough, you say, oh, forget this crap. It's a pain in the ass. I don't want to do this anymore. But if you can push through, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, as they say. There's success on the other side. And like we said earlier, even if you're selling bottles of water, if you're putting that effort out into the world, something good could happen, right? So every day that you wake up and you continue to push forward and you continue to try to advance, there's an opportunity. And you never know where the opportunity is going to come from. It could come from anywhere. But you have to keep at it. And everybody should know what it is that you're doing. Everybody should know what you're trying to achieve. And you shouldn't give up. And if you give up, you 100% are not going to make it happen. But if you are consistent and persevere, well, you're going to get there. You can't give up. I achieved a lot of things that many people thought I would never achieve. A lot of, shit. You know how many people, he'll never do it. They laughed at me. Oh, he's fucking crazy. And I did it. And look, here I am.
Yeah. That's where I am now.
A
lot of people don't believe in you. They're criticizing what you're doing.
Ignore them.
You just go, keep the grind.
Yeah.
I think it's fuel. I think, it's like sort of like revenge, proving them wrong, but in a good way, because obviously, especially if they're close ones, you can afterwards, bless them with your success.
Yes.
But I think it's a fuel. People should take it as a fuel more than, beating themselves down because of it. I like what you said about opportunity, though. I interviewed one of my lecturers last year, and he said this quote, which I really love, is, you can't find opportunities if you stay in one place and never expose yourself to the possibility of finding them.
Right. I like to do a lot of fishing. Like, we catch the ocean, and we have a saying for fishing, and it's, you can't catch the fish from the couch.
Exactly.
Unless,
that's exactly, again,
unless you go out there and you get on the boat and you get the line and the bait and you try to catch fish, you're not going to catch shit. You're not going to catch on the couch. So
exactly,
and go do something.
And people think that, that quote is very absurd, but the way people are expecting success to come is also very absurd. They're not doing anything. They're like, oh, I'm not successful.
Yeah.
Well, you're not on water, are you? You're not gonna find fish if you're just in your lounge
all day today. It's like, well, yeah, my house. So when we,
duh.
But it's the same thing, dude. I'm telling you, Jared. Listen, I'm telling you, I have seen people, including myself, accomplish things that we could say you would think they'd never accomplish, should have not been accomplished, but they accomplished it because they put in the faith, they put in the effort. They said, I'm going to go make it happen. And a lot of times they get laughed at. Like you're saying, people talk shit, they laugh at you or whatever. He's never going to do it. But when you get up day in and day out and you push forward, dude, that needle keeps going forward.
Exactly.
Forward.
The odds are with you.
Exactly.
I think honestly, if you give yourself 100% every day, even 90%, even just, 1% every day, but obviously it's better to do, 100, give everything you got every day. The odds of you not succeeding are basically every time you wake up and push forward, the odds are closer to zero every day.
Exactly.
And sure, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be the next week, next month, maybe not even next year, but you're going to get that at some point. So you just got to push forward. And it's bloody hard. I mean, I can say it's firsthand.
Yeah.
God damn.
But if it wasn't hard, everybody would have the success.
And exactly. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Exactly. So that's what makes it special. That's what makes it special. And that's how life and God rewards people. Because if everyone is just hanging out, not everyone's going to make the millions of dollars to become the success story. You get rewarded on the effort that you're putting in. The more you put in day out, the stuff that nobody sees, your friends aren't watching you, your parents aren't seeing you, girlfriend, people out in the street, they don't know how much work you put in. They don't know how much work I put in. They will never know. I know, right? But the only way that you get rewarded for that is at the end. It's when you push through and you say, and then the day that they see you driving by in your Lamborghini Urus, and they say, "Oh wow, he's lucky. What a lucky guy. Yeah, he's rich. He has nothing to worry about." It's like, well, yeah, you didn't see me when I was busting my ass every single day, day in and day out, 15 hours a day, holidays, trying to figure things out when I didn't have the answers, right? People don't see that, but life will reward you if you put in. You get what you get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. Very simple. Okay?
It's just the laws of the universe.
Exactly. Water the grass grows. You don't water the grass, it
The
dies.
grass will not grow, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, it is very simple concepts, but when it comes to put the work in, it is a whole different story. I want to dive into your book now, obviously because we mentioned that it'd be rude not to. So you've written the book, right? 2000. When was it released?
It was released last March. I think it's been almost 2 years now, actually.
Wow, well, congrats on that. So
Thank
who is Max Lewis? What inspired you to write a book, right? Because it's not an easy task.
Yeah.
And what was your writing process like?
Okay, so I never wanted to write a book. And
Okay.
the only reason I did write a book was people kept suggesting, friends and family of mine that knew what I had accomplished and what I had been through. They always said, like, man, that's like a movie. It's like, you should write a book, you know? And I just ignored it. I was like, yeah, whatever. I didn't go to college. So, and I didn't even know how to type on a computer. Because I never had to use that skill in my business. My business was interacting with people, getting people to sign contracts on a pen and paper, and delivering propane. So I never was sitting at a desk sending emails, So anyway, long story short, people kept suggesting it to me, and I was like, yeah, cool, funny, whatever. And then during around the time of COVID, right before COVID, actually, I was like, I'm not doing anything. What should I do? And it intrigued me. The idea of writing a book intrigued me. So I said, you know what? I don't know shit about writing a book. I don't even know how to type. Let me take this challenge on. I thought I was going to do it in 3 months. Oh,
Okay. I was going to say.
yeah, no. Lesson learned. Definitely not going to do it in 3 months. But so I wrote the book because of that reason. I taught myself how to type. I bought a
You
Dell.
just saw it as another challenge.
Huh?
You just saw it as another challenge, basically.
Yeah.
Which was fun, I guess. Creative process.
Yeah, and what I did was I have another home. I have a vacation home in the Florida Keys.
Okay.
I bought a laptop and I went down there and I said, okay, I'm going to stay down here. And this is kind of what we talked about earlier. And I'm not going to leave until I write the book. Right? So I left my girlfriend here in Miami. It's just about an hour away. I was there for 8 months. I would visit her on the weekends, but I lived there. I had a whole nother life there. I went to the gym there. I cooked and cleaned. My life was there until the book, because I knew I wasn't going to do it here.
And were you in complete isolation, except seeing your girlfriends on the weekend, but you weren't seeing anyone during the week? It was just you and that computer.
Correct.
Wow.
And I had a view of the ocean. It's like an oceanfront villa.
Nice.
I would just sit there in front of
you.
You
Get that inspiration.
Yeah, man. And that's what I did. I wrote like that. And in the beginning, honestly, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was like, what am I writing about? But after the second or third chapter, I realized, I can really help people. I can really help people because I have had a lot of experiences that are very, very valuable and can teach a lot of things. So
it went from a challenge to a mission.
Yeah. I switched it up.
That's beautiful.
I said, I get it. I get why I'm supposed to do this. I was guided to do it, So that's exactly what I did. I said, okay, I'm going to take this serious. And I did. And I wrote the book. And honestly, on Amazon the other day, I was reading some of the reviews that people leave. Man, I got teary-eyed. It has really impacted a lot of people. A lot. And those are just the ones that leave the review. A lot of people send me emails and letters and things like that to my house, which is pretty awesome. There's no monetary reward, at least not yet. Maybe one day they'll make a movie and I'll make the dollars. That'd be awesome. But but it's honestly even more rewarding in some ways to know that you've helped people that can never repay you, that you're never gonna meet. You don't
Yeah,
know
there's
that.
something beautiful
Yeah.
and poetic about that. You're just like,
Oh yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Mm.
And it's happened to me so many times now. And the book is a baby. Realistically, it's only been out for almost 2 years. But like the other day, I was playing tennis with people I don't know. And I was playing for like 30, 40 minutes. And the girl that was one of the girls that was there playing, she stopped me and she said, "Hey, by the way, I read your book. I loved it. This and that." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, you know, that's like the interesting part. You don't know who's read the book,
Exactly.
and you don't know how you've impacted
It's not
that.
like there's a big sign on people's foreheads like I've read your book when you're
Right?
walking the streets.
You're not gonna know that. I
There's
would
something
never.
beautiful about that. The fact that you
Yeah,
just don't know and you'll never know. But you know
it was
the impact is there.
right. It's super cool. Super cool that
It is.
time, and I think it's like the coolest thing. I went to a business meeting a couple months ago. I met with some realtors and we were talking. I was buying some real estate. I buy a lot of real estate, and I was in the same thing happened. Like we were there for maybe an hour. We're wrapping up the meeting, and the guy's like, "Well, what else do you do?" And I said, "Well, I own restaurants. I do this." And I said, "I also wrote a book." And he's like, "Oh yeah, what book?" I said, "No, who is Max Lewis?" "You wrote Who is Max Lewis?"
I guess it didn't tilt in his head. Like, oh yeah, Max,
Yeah,
it's you.
yeah. He's like, "I read that book. I love that.
Oh,
Oh my God, that's you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "But your name
so,
is Angel." I go, "Yeah, it's a pseudonym. It's a pen name." He's like, "Oh my."
oh. Well, see, I didn't even know that. Okay, then it
Yeah,
makes more sense. So, what's your actual name?
Angel.
Angel. Okay, wicked.
So that was another like super cool, stuff like that happens all the time. And it's always awesome, you know?
I love that. What did your typical day look like then when you were writing that book? What was your creative process? How much was your, because a lot of authors have, like a word goal per day or per week or per month, or how many pages they want to release. So what would the day look like?
Okay. I'll tell you, first thing I did was I found a video called on YouTube. It's How to Write a Book in a Weekend by Chandler Bolt is the guy's name.
Okay.
After the video, he talks about his inspiration for what he's doing. The second half, he tells you how to create like an outline for your book. Like you do a mind map, which is basically like a brainstorm. Then put let's say 5 things that you want to talk about. And then in those 5 things, you create topics. So for example, let's say I wanted to talk about food. So I'd say, okay, food. And then I'd say, okay, different types of food. I'd say meats, vegetables, grains, liquids, something like that. And then I'd say, okay, in meats, I'm going to put cows, chicken, fish, veal, and, whatever. I don't know, some other type of animal. And then in each one of those, then you start writing. So let's say I say, okay, I'm going to start writing about cows. Okay, let me tell you what I know about cows. Cows are black and white, generally speaking. They're best when they're harvested between 18 to 36 months. They're North Scotland cows are the most expensive because they have a higher, whatever, you know? And that's basically how you write a book. Like that's giving you the outline. So I did that. I created an outline. And then I would wake up every morning. I had my laptop, all my notes on my desk. I never moved anything. My whole dining room table over there was filled with notes, pens, highlighters, everything that I needed, that I felt I needed to write my book. And what I learned was also that I was getting out of shape just sitting there all day long, 10 hours a day, and I'd forget to eat and I wasn't working out. So in my kitchen, which was like visible from where I was sitting, I set up all my foods. I'd go to the grocery store once a week, buy my bananas, my bread, my meat, my whatever, and I'd pre-cook all my food and have it within arm's reach, basically. And then I would put timers to remind myself to eat because I'd forget to eat. So I'd eventually, when I got into the flow, I'd wake up, work out, relax, maybe do a little meditation, sit down, and I'd write for 10 or 12 hours. And that was like a typical day for me. Just every day, writing. A couple of things that I didn't realize how much editing I would end up doing. I thought that I was going to write the book, write the page and never come back to this. Oh, this page is done. Boom. That page is bullshit.
How many times do you think you've, on average, re-edited one page?
One page? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I tell you, I've made thousands of edits.
Yeah.
Thousands. The editing is it's a constant thing. Even after I published the book, I submitted like 4 or 5 edits.
Wow.
Not to the story, but just think like, oh my God,
just how it flows, and because you could be talking about that, then talk about it again there, and you don't really want to do that, so you just re-edit it that.
Right.
Yeah, I can see how it could be a long process.
All the were done before I published it, but I'm just saying, there's a like the audiobook. When I started listening to the audio, oh my God, I made 100 edits just off of, like 100. I'd be like, oh man, I don't like how I wrote that. Let me rewrite it. I don't like how I explained that. Let me explain it better. Whatever. There was just a lot of that.
And because I guess I see that from art, because I used to paint and draw a lot. The fact of having your nose in your book or typing, in your computer for so long, you're so immersed in it that you need a fresh look, take a break from it and have a step back and look at the like the overview of it. Same for painting. You could be painting for hours and hours, and then you wake up the next day and have a fresh look on it. You're like, oh, okay,
what the hell was it?
Differently, yeah. Or sometimes completely like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, what is this? You just redo it all. But I can see how I guess it could be also frustrating. I guess it was a very frustrating experience for you, but very, very rewarding in the end, as you've mentioned.
When it became frustrating, I had to learn this, was when I was putting pressure on myself to finish it by a certain time. And that's the same thing. If I used to do graffiti and a lot of art as well. And it's like, imagine I tell you, hey, Jared, do a painting and do a whole wall, do a mural. Yeah, do it in 10 minutes. It's going to look like shit. And it's not going to be very fun. It's not going to be fun. And the whole reason why you paint is because you enjoy it. So that's something that I had to like realize. There was days that I was like, okay, today I don't want to write shit, so I'm not going to write. But in the beginning, I didn't do that. In the beginning, I was like, I'm going to write. I'm going to fucking do this shit. I'm going to figure this out today. And I had to learn to, I had to learn to relax and say.
I think you also have to find the balance between having a very, very short deadline that just makes your whole creative process frustrating and not worth it, and then not having a deadline and then just going on forever and ever and re-editing, editing, because at some point the book's just going to have to go out, right? Because I'm sure you could have re-edited another 100 times that book, but at some point you've got to push it out, right?
I think, honestly, the absolute best thing I ever did was the audiobook. Okay. The audio helped me so much.
Did you read it, or did you pay someone to read it? Or you hired someone?
I didn't do it for 2 reasons. So first, it's difficult. It's really like acting. I hired like a professional narrator to do it. But secondly, when I released the book, I wasn't using my name. So I didn't want people to know it was me. I was just going to release the book and never do an interview and never, no Instagram. But after a while, they started like, man, what the hell? Like they want to talk to the author, and in the beginning,
we wouldn't be here if that didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, all right, fine. I guess it's not that big of a deal. But at the beginning, I was like terrified, like, oh no, I don't want people to know it's me. It's kind of silly. But
do you think it was just our fear of people not enjoying the book?
Well, there's a lot of personal things in the book. Okay. There's some
maybe you weren't ready to reveal to the world under your name.
Well, I didn't know how they were going to be received. Okay. And I just didn't want to open myself up to be like
vulnerable to the world.
Yeah. But I'm over it now.
I think the fact that you did do it in the end does show that you grew from that. I think in the end, I guess I can believe it's very rewarding once you've done it, and you can see the positive feedback of your vulnerability being such a powerful force for some people.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's true. And like the lady who was helping me, who was doing my marketing at the time, she's like, you can't help people if you don't go meet them and talk to them. And I said, all right, well, fuck it. That's
just put some humanity in it.
Yeah.
I love it. So there's 37 lessons in the book. I wish we had the time to go through all of them, but we don't. So what?
A lot. 37. It's way more than 37.
Okay.
Yeah.
So clearly you won't have the time to do that. But if you had to pinpoint your top 3 lessons from that book that you think everybody should know, what would they be? And why?
There really isn't a top 3. And I think as a reader, you should really read it yourself and decide. I would actually like to know what your top 3 are. I'm going to send you the book. I'm going to send you an autographed copy of the book.
Man, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because well, what's funny is that I did order it on Amazon hoping it would come and I could, at least go, because I usually, especially if a guest wrote a book, it's one out of respect.
Yeah, the top 3, again.
You just kind of, I guess you just
gotta see which one speaks to you.
I guess it is also a very good marketing strategy to be like, I don't know, but go read the book.
Well, I can tell you one of the lines that I love, that I wrote in the book, and it's like a common theme throughout the book.
Okay.
I believe. And to me, it's very powerful, even for myself as the person who wrote it, because I've lived this experience. And it's not now does not mean not ever. Right? So just because it's not happening today, or it didn't happen yesterday, or maybe it doesn't happen tomorrow, doesn't mean it's not ever going to happen for you. It's just maybe it just didn't happen right now. Maybe now's not the time for you, but maybe next week it is, or maybe next year, or maybe it's in 10 years. But just because it's not happening for you at this very moment doesn't mean it's not going to happen for you.
When it comes to the outcome.
When it comes to outcome or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve.
What's very interesting is that my dad always told me this quote, which comes to the input. So I guess it's really two polar opposites. It says, when it comes to the input, is that tomorrow sometimes means never. So like act now. But when it comes to the input, like actually doing the action. But I guess what you're saying is that now the never, so repeat your side of the
not now.
Not now.
Does not mean not ever.
Exactly. Okay.
So we could use them together. So your dad is basically saying take action, right? And what I'm saying is, let's say you go and you say, I need to go talk to Max Lewis because I want him to buy this thing from me for $100,000. And you come and you talk to me and I say, you know what, Jared, you can forget about it. I'm never going to buy that shit. Instead of you thinking, well, I talked to him. He said, no, it's never going to happen. Well, you could say, well, God, he said no today. It doesn't mean he's not going to say no tomorrow or next week.
Exactly, yeah.
I just have to either find a better way to sell this to him.
Or proposition.
Right. Or a better time, right? Or something that's better. There's always a different, there's some...
Because there's a reason he said no, right? It's not out of spite of just being a dick.
Yeah. Maybe he loves what you have. He just doesn't have the money.
He just can't, yeah.
Right. You don't know what the reasons are. So I don't like to give up. And spending many years as a door-to-door salesman, I learned that. Like, there's people who told me, get the fuck out of my office. And I was like, oh my God, all right, fine. And on other occasions, I signed them up. They became my customers. So, everyone, and another thing to note is sometimes we're having a rough day. Maybe I want to buy what you're selling. Maybe I want to do business with you, but you just happen to knock on my door when I just kicked the floor of my bed and I cut my toe and my dog bit me or my girlfriend's being a bitch today. Okay, well, I opened the door. Yeah. I'm like, what do you want, Jared? You're like, I want to get the hell out of here.
Exactly. You could have said no to this interview because you had a bad day.
Exactly. So
I love you say this because it goes completely back to when I'm trying to outreach for some guests, and obviously some guests say no. Most of the time, obviously for good reasons, because they say, yeah, well, I'm on tour right now, or I'm very busy, or I'm in a transition period. But obviously, the way they say it, they're basically telling me it's not just no. Maybe I'll say yes in 2 months, 3 months, a year now. And even if they say straight up no, I'll try again. And then if they say no, well, that's it. But if they say yes and I've tried again, at least I've got the yes. I love you brought that up.
Yeah. And another way to think about it too is like, and this is the kind of thing that I would use. So let's say I asked you for an interview and you said no, and then I come back next week or 2 weeks from now, next month, and I say, hey, I want to interview you. And you say, no, I'm not going to just walk away. I'd say, well, Jared, can I ask you a quick question? I'm sorry, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but last time you said no, and then this time you said no. Is there any reason why you said no 2 times in a row? Is there anything that I can do to make that no into a yes? Because I would just love to interview you, maybe shorten the interview time, or what could I do to make it happen? Like making that effort.
Asking, yeah,
And then you know
exactly.
what? Sometimes people are funny. They'll say, come back next month. Be like, okay, what day? Saturday? Okay. What time on Saturday? 1 p.m.? Okay, 1 p.m. Okay, cool, man. I'll see you. And then next time I come in, the guy says, get the hell out of here. Say, oh, but hold on. You told me last time to come back at Saturday, 1 p.m. and you'd give me the interview. All right, flying tickets. Right? Like there's, you got to massage
And
it.
sometimes they can find, value in your persistence because they're like, that guy's driven, that guy really wants it. You don't have to say no.
Guarantee. But you have to know how to be persistent while at the same time being respectful and likable.
Absolutely.
Not
Absolutely.
not an annoying jerk that nobody wants to deal with. You have to be
And
like,
that's a fine line, especially in sales. There's
oh
a
yeah.
fine line being a complete jerk and being a respected salesperson.
And one of the best ways to do that without coming off as a total jerk is to provide some type of value, right? Like people ask me for interviews all the time, and there's been a lot of people that I have not done interviews with, and there's been a lot of people obviously I have done interviews, and then there's a lot of people who want you to pay them to do an interview, which is like insane. I would never do that.
Wait,
Um,
so people actually go to you and they're like, I want to interview you, but you're going to have to pay me like $1,000 to do so.
I laugh at them. I laugh at them.
Crazy.
This
I
one
usually
guy,
see the other way around.
yeah. So this guy messaged me. He's got like I don't know, 40 million followers or something, and he's like, he did the same shit. He's like, he reached out to me. I'd love to interview you. Blah blah blah. And I said, okay, fine. We could set it up. We set it up for a particular date. He has his assistant reach out to me, and she's like, oh, there's a fee for an interview. I was like, no, honey, actually, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm going to charge you. She's like, well, we have 40 million followers and you can sell whatever it is that you're selling. I said, I'm not selling anything.
Exactly.
I'm not selling
I can
anything.
see why they would do that on a marketing perspective on your side if you want to, like market your book or anything. But I feel like it, and even, when it comes to a very authentic interview, when there's no fee behind it, I feel like when there's a fee, it makes the whole thing less authentic because
It's a
you
commercial.
pay to be there and it just doesn't feel very, I mean, that's how it feel, how it feel on my side.
Right. It becomes like a commercial. And
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that. And then they came back and asked me again, hey, okay, fine, we want to interview. And I said, no, because I got pissed off. I was like, oh, man, just get out of here. Get someone else. So whatever. Providing some type of value is something that has always worked extremely well for me without asking for anything in return or expecting anything in return. How you do that, entirely up to you. I don't know. It depends on what you're selling, what your business is, whatever. But basically, just being a good person with a good heart and a good soul and doing things for the right
Good
reason
intentions.
usually works out pretty well. And if someone wants to do business with you, good. And if they don't, that's fine also. You can't get mad, But I've always done like a very good, like, kind of like, I don't know, just I've always done like the right thing and given people more than they expected or asked for, or even in many cases, more than what I was getting paid for, or if I was getting paid at all. If I was getting paid, and that usually works out to my benefit.
No, I can see that, man, through the way you convey your message and how passionate you are. I do respect that from you, and I love it.
Thank you.
If you didn't go into the propane business, and if you're not doing what you're doing now, what will you do, or what will you be pursuing instead?
If I had to start over,
Yeah,
I would have been a realtor.
Realtor. Okay, how come and why?
Because it's easy to get in.
So low barrier to entry.
Right. You could get your license. You can you get access to deals before they hit the market. Like, especially when I was younger, like especially in this area where I live in Miami, there were so many opportunities, man, And as a realtor, you get those calls and you get the opportunity, really, because you could either buy it or have your friend buy it or sell it and make a commission. There's so many ways to get money being a real estate agent. So I would have become a real estate agent. I would have also invested more into real estate, and I probably would be developing as well. And it's something that you can do with no money. You don't need money to become a realtor. You need to do more of what we just spoke about. If I have a house that I want to sell and I know that you're a realtor, and let's say, for example, I don't know, so the way I would do it is I'd pick a farm area. So I'd find an area that has the most expensive homes, and I would become an expert in that area. Let's say it's even a 2 square mile area. I'd learn everything about that area. I'd learn everything about the schools, the population, everything, the mayor, whatever. Become an expert in that area, and then let everyone know, hey, if you sell a house in this area, call me because I'm the expert. And then do something that will encourage them to contact you. Do something different. I don't know. Give everybody on that street a bottle of wine. Give them all a phone call. Send them flowers. I don't know. Make sure they know who you are. You got to do something memorable that they say, call that kid. What was his name? The one that's the expert here? Jared? Yeah, Jared. Yeah, call him. We're going to sell the house. Call him. Put my pictures all over the place. I would want to make sure that everyone knew me as the guy that sells houses in that area. Right? I want to be the expert. And then I also want to do other things to set myself apart. Like, hey, all realtors charge a 6% commission. I charge 5%. All right. I do things like that. Hey, we do professional photos for free. That doesn't cost me a lot of money. There's all right. There's things that you can do to separate yourself from the pack, but at the same time make you memorable, right? And make you stand out and give you an edge. And a lot of times it's things that don't cost a lot of money. If it was 1,000 houses in those 2 square miles, you say, I'm going to send a mailer every month. You could do that. What's stopping you from doing that? What does that cost? 50 cents for postage? Okay, that's not a whole lot of money. To get your name on top of mind so that people are always hearing about you and seeing you, that's worth. The real estate in their mind is worth a lot of money. And if all the houses in that neighborhood are worth, let's say, $5 million, if you sold one house and got a 3% commission, you're doing pretty good, right? That's $250,000.
Is that something you would encourage young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs to do today?
Take action.
Take action. And again, if it doesn't work, you try something else.
Yeah. Take action.
I guess you obviously have to be in the area to do that, because obviously I wouldn't be a realtor for some area in Miami when I'm in the UK. Or is that something people can actually do?
I don't know. It's all relative. But I'm sure there's areas like that in the UK that you guys don't have realtors there?
I'm sure we do. We do. Again, I don't really know much about the topic. I might look into it now.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, but see, this is the thing. Like, there's a version of that everywhere. Exactly. Being the guy or girl, that is like known in that space, like they're like, oh, you need real estate? Call this guy. Right now, in my network, when
it comes to agencies and realtors and all that.
Right. And for example, like writing a book, anybody who knows me right now, if they're talking to someone about writing a book, you know what they're going to say? Hey, call Max. He wrote a book. They know that I do that, right? That I've done that. So they're going to call me. So if you're doing something, whatever it is, whether it's a realtor or something else, you want to be known for that so that people will call you and you could sell more of your products. When I was in the propane business, I marketed the shit out of my propane company. I made shirts, hats. I put
what's the name of the company?
It was called Florida Propane Exchange. Look how funny. Let me show you something. I did all kinds of marketing things that you would never ever think people need to do, but I did it anyway because number one, I was having fun and it gave people more of a reason to talk about me. So like, look at this. I used to give these to people for their kids. It was my truck, Florida Propane. This is dumb shit.
It's like free marketing. You just see that kids paying it.
Bro, but how cool is
it? Genius.
You get it?
That's great. That's great.
I made flyers, like really catchy flyers. Like these are flyers that I used to make back in the day.
Wow.
With my marketing, those are the cages.
Yeah.
Right?
Damn, that's
the tank. That's the heater. I did this is 20 years old, man. You know what this looked like 20 years old? Amazing.
I know, yeah. But
Amazing.
even now it looks great. I mean,
Yeah. People weren't using this type of high resolution flyer 20 years ago.
you know that's
Absolutely
sort of
not.
used everywhere now. But
And
yeah,
I
I can
and I
see
spent
how
the extra money, but guess what this made me? Stand out.
it's
So you see the other guy's flyer, and it probably fucking looked like this compared to my, like, who are you gonna look at? You know, like, it was not even a question. You know, all of my stuff stood out because I was passionate about it. I put the extra effort, and I put that extra,
yeah,
into
have
it.
the edge and really
Yeah. See,
see the trends arise
right.
before.
And you want to do that with everything you do. I mean, that's what I did. Even with my book, I did that. Look at this. I don't know if you've ever seen these things.
Yeah, the Funko Pops. There's one of you. Oh,
Yeah.
did you do the customizable ones?
This is a gift. They gave it to me.
That's wicked.
How cool is that?
That's see, that's absolutely wow.
Yeah, cool or what? So stuff like
That's
this.
that's a goal in life to have a Funko Pop of yourself.
Yeah, bro. Cool stuff like that. I mean, it will
That's
set you
wicked.
apart. And again, depending on how big your customer is, like in the real estate one that we discuss, 5% commission would be 250 grand. So 3%, I don't know, whatever that is, 200, 150, whatever the hell that number is. It's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that you can get if you just got one person. If you convinced one person to sell their home with you, right?
Yeah.
You could sell one house a year and make a good living. One a year, right? That's a big enough
tickets.
right?
Mm.
So that's why I would be a realtor, because I was like, oh,
That makes sense.
to me, it'd be a no-brainer,
Mm.
And I know realtors in Miami that sell houses that cost $50 million, $30 million, $20 million. They're making stupid money. And what I would do, even today, if I was interested, I'm probably not going to do it, but I could, is I just align myself with them. Hey, I want to work with you. I want to be around. Give me the crumbs. If you're selling a $50 million house, what's a crumb to you? 2 million, 3 million? I'll take a $3 million listing. A $3 million listing at 6% commission. It's a lot of money for someone who's got no money, right? That's $90,000 probably. So, again, I could sell one. So this is another thing. So this is actually something that I could partially answer your other question. People ask me, what would you tell your kids if you could only give them one piece of advice? And my advice would be, spend time with the people who are getting the results that you're after. Spend time with the people who are getting the results that you're after. If you want to become a crackhead, go hang out with crackheads. If you want to become a businessman, hang out with businessmen. You want to become a skateboarder, hang out with people who are skateboarding, right? You want to become an author, hang out with people who've written books.
So true.
All you have to do, and it's the easiest thing you can do. You don't have to be intelligent. You just
surround
gotta
yourself with the winners.
get in proximity. Just get in proximity of them. Hey man, you guys are skateboarding? I'd love to skateboard. You think I could hang out here and watch you for a little while? Absolutely. Guess what's going to happen in a couple weeks? You're going to be skateboarding.
Yeah, maybe crap at first, but the more you hang out with them and the more you practice, yeah. That's what I keep thinking about, how environment is so important and who you sort, because you basically, I love this quote of, you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out the most with.
Okay.
And I think about this more and more. I'm at uni, and I'm thinking more and more of dropping out or stopping uni as soon as possible, because I really want to dedicate all my time to my projects, the podcast, for example, and other stuff. And I'm just surrounded constantly by, and they're not bad people for the most part, right? But they're not. I don't really see them taking much action or doing what I want to do, or have the motivation and the drive I have. And that's why I'm trying to start societies, to clubs, to hang around more with people that have the same ideas, values, and the same drive as me. But yeah, environment is everything.
Yeah, I mean, I would highly suggest that you change those environments. Listen, when I was coming up, when I really set my big goal, like my first big goal, huge goal, I would say, was selling my company for $25 million. I stopped hanging out with everybody because nobody could understand, especially from where I came from, 25 million. I might as well have said, I want to sell my company for 25 trillion. You know, that's the kind of response I was getting from people like, oh, this guy's out of his damn mind. He's never going to do that. Like, you're never going to do that. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Why hang around in, negativity when?
Correct. So I just stopped hanging out with it.
People think it's selfish, but in order to be selfless, you gotta be selfish at some point.
Let me ask you a question. At your funeral, okay, when you die, God forbid, anytime soon, hopefully you'll be 150 years old. But we're at your funeral. They just finished burying you. We're walking away. We're with your family. And your best friends are there, walking to their car. What do you think they're going to turn and look at each other and say? I'm going to give you some insight. You know what one person's going to say?
Tell me.
They're going to say, hey man, what do you want to go eat now? Want to go grab a bite? You know why they're going to say that?
Why?
Because life moves on.
Yeah.
Life moves on. You think I'm selfish? Good for you. Congratulations. I have to do what's right for me.
Yep.
I have to do what's right for me. Because when you die, they might cry. They might miss you the first couple days, maybe even a couple weeks. After that, bro, they're still going to party. They're still going to have sex. They're still going to go on vacations. They're still going to buy new cars. Life goes on. The world has never stopped turning because somebody died. Never. So when someone tells you, Jared, no, man, oh, you don't want to hang out, oh, you're being selfish. Okay. Thanks. I'm being selfish. You know what? I should be selfish. You are the most important person in your life. You are the most important person in your life. You have to be. You have to always be. Even if you had 10 kids, if you don't take care of yourself, you die, your kids have no one. You have to take care of yourself. You come first. You come first. So you have to, when people have opinions like that, those are the people you need to get away from. Those are the people you need to get away from. You need to do what's right for you. Because at the end of the day, you only have a certain amount of time to do whatever it is that you want to do and to achieve the things you want to achieve. And if you don't do it, it's on you. And if you do it, it's on you. And if somebody doesn't like it, too fucking bad for them. And if they love it, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. And that's it.
I love it. I'm going to finish off with these two last questions. One, what's your top 3 books you've read?
Think and Grow Rich. The Richest Man in Babylon. You got it?
It's funny because my brother just bought me this last Christmas. I still haven't read it. It's a deluxe version of Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, nice. It's super old school, but it's cool.
Really, I just love it. I just love it. It's a great gift. I gotta read it. I'm trying to go back into reading more and more. Okay, so Think and Grow Rich, The Richest Man in Babylon.
The Richest Man in Babylon. The what is it? The Magic of Thinking Big.
Yes.
And the fourth
Great
one
books.
would be Who is Max Lewis?
Exactly, amazing. What's one last thing you'd like to say to the world, Max?
No, I just want to motivate and inspire people and just hope that they achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve. And if anyone needs any help or any guidance, I'm available. You can reach out to me. I'm pretty active on social media, Instagram. If I could do anything to help anyone, I absolutely will.
And what's next for you, man? What's next for you?
Just investing, trying to get to the next level of wealth. I have a goal to only fly private, so I'm working on that right now.
That's a great goal.
I can do it. I could easily do it. I just want to get to the point where I don't
Where you don't look at the it doesn't dent the balance. Your
right. I do that with I do that with everything else. But for some reason, whenever they send me the bill for the private, I'm always like,
you can sort of feel it. Yeah,
it's $100,000 to fly like across the country. I'm like,
wow.
one way. So I'm like, ugh. You know, right now I could fly anywhere first class. If it's 3,000, 5,000, I don't care. But when I see that 100,000, I'm like, ooh, well, man, I don't know. So I want to get to the next level where I don't even care about that. I'm working on it.
That's a good goal. Yeah, that's a good goal.
Yeah, why not?
Hey man, it was a pleasure having you on. I've learned a lot.
Awesome.
I love your energy, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
You're a great guy.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can do this in the future. Hopefully in person.
Absolutely. And send me your information and I'll make sure they ship out a book for you today or tomorrow.
Please, man. I really appreciate that.
All
God
right,
bless.
Jared. Hey, pleasure,
Stay
man.
safe.
All right, you too,
Bye.
bud. Bye-bye.